Okay, everybody say so. 10 things. Because there are 10 things. We're doing Perik Sheni now. How to dedicate our actions. What it is we learned in Perik Rishon. How do we rise to the spiritual level of dedicating an act to Hashem alone? Basar and Yonim. By the means of 10 conditions. When these conditions are established in your mind, they become clear to you, came Adnei Avodah, that they're the foundations of his Avodah.
Progress.
V'shoroshe Ma'aseh, the root of his action.
Rabbi G, you have to disconnect your phone.
You hear twice, Rabbi Ganowski.
I know.
Second coming.
Yeah, all right. No, I just I kicked the other one out.
Yishlam Yehudai Bohem L'Shem Akel, and that way his actions will be single-mindedly in the service of Hashem. He won't turn to any other motives to do it, and he won't have any hope. He won't be looking for any type of reward or anything else besides that, besides Yichud Hashem, Yichud HaMaisa. And his intention and his actions will only be B'tzayin Hashem. Now, the first four I picked today, the first four are parallel to the first four sha'arim of the Chovos haLevavos. Okay, so the first thing is Yichud Elikim B'Lev Shalom, which is the Shar Yichud Elikim that we didn't learn. It's to accept wholeheartedly the oneness of Hashem. Kashakoda B'Tchilas Sifri Zez, I wrote at the beginning of this sefer, right? Yichud Elikim, that it becomes clear to us that Hashem is here, and also that he's the only one. You must be convinced that the whole universe is nothing but the work and the desire and the will of one creator. Yichud Elikim. Asheni is habechina. Shar bechina b'Teves Elikim, to reflect upon the kindnesses that Hashem did in the world, asmadosam alav, and they're constant. Kasher Be'anu, as we explained in the second Shar and Shar Bechina, that everything we study in the world, you see how the whole world is one big chesed machine. It's all built to touch perfection, so that we, for us, V'hashlishi shikal b'olav avodas elikim kasher zacharti by Shar avodas elikim. The whole avodas elikim is based, says the Chovos haLevavos, on gratitude. Once you have the Shar Bechina idea about that, you're full of gratitude to Hashem and humility, and that's the foundation of avodas elikim. And then is that you acknowledge the needs for trusting in Hashem. And not having bitachon on any of the other created beings. But that's the first four steps, conditions for Yichud HaMaisa. Yes, if you don't have the Yichud Elikim, then if Chas v'Shalom a person wouldn't believe in that, then he couldn't do Yichud HaMaisa because there's more than one person, more than one power. So, right, and same thing we learn bitachon. One of the things we learned about bitachon is that if there's any other power, any other thing that has power, then you can't really place your bitachon in Hashem. So all these things are basis for going to the step of, now that I'm going to act that one-mindedness that okay, now number 5, I'm not sure why it's different than number 4. Anything benefit or any damage, anything that bad could happen, benefit or harm, is not in anyone. Nobody has the power. In a biyad nivra, it's not in the power of any created being. We built without Hashem's permission. And that's part of bitachon. Not clear to me why 4 and 5 are 2 separate things. Right? Number 4, he said it's bitachon olav bibuti avruim. That bitachon Hashem to the exclusion of any other created being. And number 5 is that I believe that only HaKadosh Baruch Hu has the ability to do anything. And if anyone's doing something to me, whether it's for my benefit or my harm, it's only Rishus Hashem. It's Hashem's Ratzon. So that's very close to number 4. And Rabbi fills in here a little bit. But what about the tragedies that happen to people? Right? If you're saying everything is from Hashem, the 5th condition reminds you that everything that happened in this world reflects the will of Hashem. When Hitler killed Jews, it was only with Hashem's permission. Just as when anybody does a kindness to Jews, it's with Hashem's permission. If anybody insulted you, it was with Hashem's permission. If anybody honored you, it was with Hashem's permission. You satisfy this condition when you fully believe that Hashem is the only one who does, and can do anything to you or for you. All right, big yesod, the big yesod. Everything is just a tool in Hashem's hand. Number 6, Vashishi, she'iyah shaveh etzloi im yishabchu b'nei adam v'yiganu. Other people's attitudes to you will make no difference. If they're praising you, if they disparage you, that's not in any way something that impacts you. You're able to ignore peer pressure, able to ignore. It's not a sugya for you. You're going to do what you think is right. It doesn't matter. I think of what was it in Nevada that they would on purpose go into a hardware store, right? It was to buy a cake, whatever. It was to develop in them that public opinion and other people's opinions is not a factor, right? So here also, and in that, of course, because if you want to be able to do Yichud HaMaisa, you can't be affected by other people and what they think is right and what they think is good. You have to do what you think is right. He has to say to himself, I don't care what people say. What I'm doing is good, and I don't expect any praise. If they do praise me, it means nothing to me. And if they criticize me for doing the right thing, it means nothing to me. Okay, that's number 6. Number 7 is Shiyaziv Hayipul of Neodam. Now 7 sounds very much like number 6. Right? Number 7 is Shiyaziv Hayipul of Neodam, is that you should refrain from actions whose purpose is to make himself look good in the eyes of people. Don't do things to flatter. Which L'chura was what number 6 was about. It's not clear to me again what the difference between 6 and 7 is. This means that when he does something, says Ramela, he should try to get out of his mind any interest in making people like him because of it. Because the first one was that people say, it doesn't affect me. This one is that my intention is only for Kodesh Baruch Hu, L'Shem Shamayim, and not that other people should like me or give me covered. So that's a little different. In other words, number 6 is talking about their opinions don't affect me. right? I'm going to do what I want to do. And number 7 is, and when I do things, I only do it with the intention of Lishma and not for any type of praise, any type of flattery to other people. Okay, number 8, Hashmini. Is to empty your mind of all thoughts of this world when you're doing something precious for the world to come. Just like we said, when you do it, actually, you're not thinking about what people are going to think, or you're not doing it to get something from people. So the same thing is that when I'm doing a mitzvah, I have no thoughts of gain of Olam Hazeh things. Olam Hazeh is not being factored in. My intention is totally pure.
But is that always true?
What do you mean?
An example, somebody makes a large donation.
Yeah.
Right? We put up a plaque, we name a building, we do it, and to encourage others. I mean,
Right.
if theoretically, if he did it Lishma, he'd buy the building, and he doesn't need
no
a name
plaques.
or a plaque.
So there was a paragraph here that I just skipped. Yeah. He said, it says on page 15 by number 6. As was mentioned in the introduction, the concerns of the author about gaining the goodwill of people need an explanation. After all, decent people must take into consideration what impressions they are making in order that the opinion of others will serve as a stimulus to proper behavior. It has to be part of what you think, you say. Right? A little bit like what you're saying. So what then is the author referring to? Consider the case of a man whose behavior confirms with what is required of him. He's doing something and he knows to be a good thing. But he should try to put out of his mind any interest in the praise people give him for it. He has to say himself, I don't care what people say. What I am doing is good and I don't expect any praise. But if they do praise me, it means nothing to me. And if they criticize me for doing the right thing, it means nothing to me. So what you're describing is just that act is being used to encourage other people to do it. The person giving the money, again, if his intention of having the plaque there is that'll be an impetus for other people to give money. So that's also l'shem shamayim.
Okay.
The plaque is there because he wants people to say shalom aleichem to him. Then that's not, right? Then that's for himself. They say Reichman. There were no plaques for Reichman anywhere. No dinners, no plaques, no nothing. He was makbid to give money only if they promised they wouldn't put anything up. But most people, there are plaques. So again, so if you're doing Yichud HaMaisa, like I said, if you're putting the plaque there to get a pat on the back, feels good. Look, it's not a terrible thing, but it's still like Lishma. Right? But if you're putting the plaque because like when you make they make a what's it called in the shul? What's it called?
Appeal.
Appeal. Right? It certainly affects other people. When you start with a big number, it certainly raises everyone else's pledges. If you would start with a small number, okay, so everyone's very happy. You forgave $10 and we move on. After the guy next to you just said $1,000, so especially those who are able to, it's much harder for them to get away with 18. So if the person's giving that big amount of money, he's announcing it because he understands that that's gonna spur other people to give big amounts. So then he's doing it also Lishma. But if he's doing it because everyone should say, "Wow, look what he just gave," so that's not so good. Okay, let's see. Ignoring this rule. So number 8 was that when I do a mitzvah, When you do a mitzvah, any good thing, try to divorce yourself from any connection with the circumstances of this world. Imagine that you and Hashem are alone in this world, and you're doing it only for Him. This seems to be like a targil, an exercise in Yichud Hamaisa, is that you block out and everything around. It just mean HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But, he's saying that this is a tool. This is a if I'm aware of everything around the world, so it could affect my Maisa, I guess. I don't know what he means. He says, even if you happen to be a wealthy businessman, drive all your business concerns out of your head. In other words, when you do the Maisa, you should be totally focused. Totally focused on the Maisa. He brings here in this growth with action. Even though you're successful in your job and you have many things to do, and even though you have relatives and children and friends, everything should go out of your mind during davening, which is the time of your audience with Hashem. You should have just one, you should be totally focused on the davening. And sounds for the haLevavos. When I do a mitzvah, I should be totally focused. I shouldn't have anything else in my mind. I should be totally focused on what I'm doing. He says, however, don't disregard those who need Hashem's help. One of the major aspects of tefillah is to pray for others too. Pray for the Jewish nation as a whole and for individuals who need a Yeshua. Even though you have nobody in particular that you're thinking about, Hashem wants you to pray for those who are near you first, and then for other people who need help. Remember that He wants you to do it, and that's why you're doing it. So again, you're totally focused on the davening, not on the people, so to speak. When you give tzedakah, you're not doing it out of a natural feeling of pity in your heart, but because Hashem said you should have pity. Number 9 is Shiyira Vatishi Vatshi'i. Shiyira Melikim V'Yevash Mimen. Is Yira Shamayim? Yira Melikim, you should learn to be afraid of Hashem, and you should learn to be ashamed in His presence. Who am I? I'm so lacking in achievements. I'm so far from doing my duty towards Hashem. I'm really ashamed. Of course, almost nobody has that feeling. You have to be a very great man in order to acquire that. So work on being afraid of Hashem and be ashamed in His presence. I hope I'll explain why this is a condition in Yichud HaMaisa. And number 10, whenever the Yetzer Hara is talking to him, he should be able to take advice, consult with his seichel. Don't try to convince me, Yetzer Hara, what's the right thing? And to accept the advice of the seichel to the exclusion of the Yetzer Hara. When a man wishes to be a servant of Hashem with single-mindedness, he should get into the habit of listening to his good sense. That is easier for us to comprehend and to achieve than some of the previous conditions. Many people do have good sense, but they don't listen to it. They block out their good sense and say, just do it. Just do it and die young. Just do it and put your life on a limb. Just do it. But we need to know the opposite of that mindless advertising slogan. Don't just do it. Listen to the common sense Hashem gave you. That's one of the conditions that you need to meet in order to serve Hashem single-mindedly. Don't pay attention to anything but your common sense. Okay? We'll stop here. Perek Shlishi.